What is up, Earthnoids and Spacenoids? I am just a simple new type, and in this episode, we are reaching the end of the return of Johnny Ridden. Last time, the team started making their way towards Abawaku. We saw Hugh Markeen Kelvin's death through Uma's past, and we saw Danton make his promise to Shar that he will protect Arlette. This episode, the mission finally begins. In the past, Uma takes package number 6, left by Hugh Kelvin. He is about to do something reckless, and Gop's team follows Neo Zeon to the party. So let's get into this. They are 5 minutes out from Abawaku. Dickhot cuts the engines of the Nikaya. They show Led the key to Minaret. This key looks like a mobile suit beam rifle, but it is actually a laser key. It seems to just send out a password via laser comms to authenticate the Minaret. Minaret has 128 turrets installed, so if they don't use the key, they will be met with a missile barrage. They begin the mission. The Chimera will be guarding Led's platoon. 30 minutes out is the 3rd platoon, where Gerald Sakai's team will be operating as a barrier. Gerald and the captain of the Columbus Liaison joke about the last time they were both here. The two were on opposite sides of the war. Gerald says that their comrades will be happy to see us, referring to their fallen comrades during the 1-year war. Scott looks out into space and says that he hopes Hugh Markeen Kelvin remains dead until they finish this operation. On their way to Abawaku, the Blanc rivals stop at a colony which I assume is Sweetwater because they mention Zeon accents. The captain, Kikonoe, says to the Yazan that they can get access to the colony if he likes, but it is a double-edged sword. They could get help from the colony, but it might alert Oxner loyalists to their location. He says to just leave it to the former Zeon soldiers they just sent in. Inside the colony happens to be Gaius and Phileas, who are undercover. Gaius mentions that Phileas looks good as a lady. This isn't the first time he dressed like a girl, as he did the same when he was fleeing Side 3 post-war. They meet with a contact at the cafe. This happens to be a former family friend and employee of Phileas's family, but he was way too young to remember. Phileas is a part of a Zeon royal family, similar to Glimmy and all those other royal assholes. He informs them that there is a resistance group forming within the walls of this colony. Most people chose to follow their new leader. He is referring to Neo Zeon and Shar. They want the two former Zeon to join them. He tells them to meet at the docks at midnight for further details, and he refuses to give Phileas his real name. Back on the ship, they are informed of the situation with Phileas and Gaius. Yazan is curious of who they are meeting with. Jacobius, Uma, and Led approach Minaret in their Gelgoog vertices. Jacobius is in the Vertex Xanthos and Uma in the Kurano. The Vertex Xanthos has the 3-kind scope like Jacobius's former Gelgoog. It also has a hyper mega launcher mounted on the backpack, and the same sniper beam rifle he is accustomed to. There doesn't seem to be any significant differences between Johnny's Testarossa and Uma's Kuranos, so this is one of the rare times we will take GBO2 data into account. It uses the Gelgoog beam rifle and the Drayson's giant bazooka. The rifle also has a beam bayonet attached for melee attacks. It can attach a missile pod on its backpack, and it has a Vulcan pod system. As they reach the ship, the Minaret activates its anti-aircraft weapons. It fires on the 3 Gelgoogs. Jacobius moves into action and begins sniping. Oxner, Hoover, and Dickhot look on at Minaret. It is just as they left it 10 years ago. Meanwhile, the Neo Zeon ship, the Meretsker, is wandering close to the Minaret. I think last time we said they were close to FSS, but they have actually been wandering around Abawaku this whole time. They inform Shar back at Sweetwater. He asks Arlette what she thinks of the situation. She goes, "I don't know, man." Shar says, "Abawaku it is." She didn't even say anything. He and Neo Zeon prep to join the battle. After Jacobius does some sniping, he whips out the laser key and fires at Minaret. It disables the ship's defenses. As Shar and his forces leave, Kikonoe and the Blanc rifle follows them. Yazan and his team prep to launch. Constantine and his ship will follow behind. They just start following Neo Zeon. I assume Gaius and Phileas's intel were about Shar and Neo Zeon taking off towards Abawaku. Why was Yazan so curious? He knew it was going to be Shar. Weird moment, but I'm also translating this from Japanese, and I suck at Japanese, so I might be missing something. Constantine talks about opening a bar after all this is over. Oh man, don't say that. That means you're most certainly going to die. Kikonoe pops back up in the comms and reminds him to run away if the Blanc rifle goes down. The Nikaya and Chimera move in closer to Minaret. The Gelgoogs land and move in. There's very little air on board as the ship suffered a lot of damage during the Battle of Abawaku. That is when Jacobius tells Led that during the battle, the Chimera Corps broke into 2 factions. As the war was lost, the team was split. Asia wanted to go to Side 3, but Hugh Markeen Kelvin wanted to head towards Axis. Both sides wanted to take Minaret. A civil war broke out during the battle. Remember, the Chimera Corps is at Abawaku, But they aren't fighting the war. They're doing their own thing. Jacobius and Uma went to take down Hugh, while Asia used the key to deactivate the Grimory, which is the name of the onboard computer controlling the biological ship. Jacobius says this is the last known coordinates of Asia. They open the door to see the whole of the ship ripped apart. It seems that Asia threw Johnny into the airlock and self-destructed the ship on her own. After that, Uma began a rebellion once he found out about Asia's death. Led can once again see Asia in his memories. New Year's Eve, UC 0079. Emma and Cristobal see Uma, who returned to the ship. He is cold and vacant after killing Hugh Markeen Kelvin. Emma suggests that they don't tell him about Asia just yet and perhaps have Johnny Ridden say something to him. Uma is informed of the issues with his Gelgoog, but he is spacing out 15 minutes until they launch again. One thing to note is that the group that split from Chimera goes by the name Hydra. Hydra is also the name that Siemens, Meyer May, and GUNDAM currently go by in the present. Ingrid comes up to him and asks if he was the one who killed Hugh. She said that he chose to fight by Johnny's side. Uma asks her what she plans on doing once this war is over. She doesn't know. She isn't even human, and they are property of Xeon. Considering cloning is forbidden, she thinks that they will be disposed of or experimented on if the Fetties get their hands on them. I guess Ingrid is not just a cyber new type, but a clone. One thing we do know is that she doesn't have too long to live. She was in stasis previously in the manga to show how she extends her life. He tells her to run away, but considering her condition, she wouldn't live too long on her own. Besides, she finds the Chimera home, and the people on board her family. Uma says if that is the case, he will protect the Chimera to ensure her survival. He decides to go to Hugh's room to see what he is talking about. He enters with caution, even though the door was unlocked. When he enters, a message plays for him. He tells him to take the package. It is the package number 6 that he mentioned before his death. He grabs package number 6 and heads back to his mobile suit to prepare to sortie. He places it in a duffel bag and tells everyone that he is just carrying extra sidearms in case things get ugly. He asks for a sitrep from the bridge. They are not to engage and act as an escort ship for other ships fleeing. Johnny is gathering the rest of the team, a job usually done by Asia. Once GUNDAM returns, Uma is to launch. Jacobius has left Minaret, and GUNDAM's squad is 15 minutes out. Uma wonders why Johnny is in charge organizing the team. That's a job for Asia. They are retreating to Side 2, which is one of the rare fleets that aren't going to Side 3 or Axis. He looks at a picture of Johnny, Asia, Ingrid, and himself. He asks the bridge if he could get a hold of Asia. Unfortunately, he asks the bridge, who gives him the coldest response possible to this bad situation. They sternly tell him that she was killed in action. Now get the hell off the line! The bridge thought that he already knew. He goes pale and silent. A mechanic tries to help him out. He asks if Ingrid knows, but they haven't told her yet. She can't know. She asks her to visit him real quick. Ganon is 5 minutes out. She floats over quickly and asks what he wants. He tells her that he will never abandon the Chimera. She wonders what he is planning to do with this bag, as he is acting strange. She says that he might just have to take matters into his own hands. Ganon's team has returned. Uma has clearance to launch. He pushes Ingrid away and begins launching. Ingrid tries to get the mechanics to stop him as he is acting suicidal, but he launches. We return to UC-90. The vertices are moving through Minaret. Uma still has the same photo that he was looking at in UC 0079. They make contact with the Nikaya once they get inside. Uma now wonders if he could treat the Nikaya in the same way that he once treated the Chimera.
Family.
The communications officer on the Nikaya tells them where to go. He says that she is really cute while not realizing that the comms are still open. She heard him say that. He tries to save face by asking her out when he returns. Jacobius tells Uma to leave the hard work to the adults. Emma and Siemens move in to protect the ship. Even Emma treats Uma like a little kid. However, as Uma, Led, and Jacobius move out, she says that he has very much become an adult. The former Abawaku sector. Ensign Cole of Le Mans is scouting the area. I assume this team is a part of the Federation support squad. He notices there is something moving in fast. He asks the ship to identify itself. It moves past them with great speeds while others begin taking out Ensign Cole's support team. The Nikaya notices the attack. They notice a team of Bawoos. It happens to be Resin and Neo Xeon. The mobile suit that sped by quickly is most certainly Shar. And that will do it for this episode. Everyone is finally converging at the final showdown. The appearance of Resin in this and not in Moon Gundam is still throwing me off a little bit. I will eventually come to terms with it though. This has been a fun journey, but next time we will finally conclude Mobile Suit Gundam MSVR, The Return of Johnny Ridden. The Gelgoog vertices will engage with Neo Xeon. Yazan and Gop's team make it to the party. Led, Yazan, and Shar fight it out, and we finally see the appearance of Johnny Ridden. But that will do it for now, new types. Remember, the worst way to find out information about a friend's death is through a sitrep. Peace.